Hi. Shalom, it's Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet Good Torah. Freilka Purim, Purim Sameach, Happy Purim. We're going to go through the Kabbalah of the Megillah Esther. Of course, we can't do it without the great Rabbi Mordehay Darwish of the YouTube channel Gates of Mordechai. How can we have the Megillah Esther without Mordechai? All right, so we're going to bring up, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the Sefiros of the 10 Parachim. I got this idea. I heard a shiur from a rabbi. I think his name is Rabbi Ephraim Palovov. I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name. Puts out these great Torah videos. I'm sure you guys have seen. And he mentioned this idea of like the 10 Sefirot. So on the Tines Esther, I started trying to go through the Megillah Esther and connect it to the Sephira. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet anywhere. So I'm not sure if I have it correct, but maybe we got it good. Here, I'll bring up the share here. Okay, so we're just going to start the beginning. We're going to start the first parak, first chapter in the Megillah Esther, and I believe it's connected to Malchus. You want to jump in? Any comments about Malchus or the Megillah Esther?
No, just simplicity that it's connected to kingship, you know.
Yeah.
And then the first chapter talks about how big of a king Achashveirosh was.
Right. So I think it's a very easy connection here. Like Malchus is the lowest of the Spheros. It's connected to kingship, and this is the lower crown, and then the 10th, we're going to go up to the 10th Sephira of Keser, which is the higher crown. And we'll see in the whole Megillah how like Hashem switches control from the enemies of the Jewish people to the Jewish people, and then establishes Hashem's crown, even though Hashem's not mentioned at all in the Megillah, and it shows how Hashem's controlling all of history, but sometimes Hashem is hidden. And the word Megillah Esther is very interesting. It means Megillah means like to reveal, to open up the scroll, and Esther is Nister, hidden. So it's revealing the hidden, and we're going to, Bezrat Hashem, see all kinds of secrets of Purim and the Megillah Esther day. Okay, so just to start off, then we can talk about it. So Malchus is kingship. It's the lowest of the Spheros. Like it starts, it says King Achashveirosh, he ruled from Hod, which a lot of Mefarshim say is India, to Kush, which could be Ethiopia. Well, if you look on a map, India and Ethiopia are very close together. So it's interesting. It doesn't seem like that's a big kingdom. But then I've seen people describe it that no, it goes from India and you go all around the world the other way and then come back to Africa, and he's controlling the whole world. He's controlling what's called the Kippah, controlled 127 countries, the Persian Empire. So it's interesting too. It's the Megillah does this in different places. So it's the third year of his reign. And it's going to go through different years of the reign of the kingship of Achashveirosh. And one other thing to throw in here, it's very important. In the Gemara Megillah, it says anytime the Megillah says, Melech Achashveirosh, King Achashveirosh, it's talking about Achashveirosh. But when the Megillah just says Melech, it's also talking about Hashem. It's like the Melech, it's the Melech Malchei Malachim. It's talking about the King of Kings, Hashem. And we'll talk about that as we're going through it. So it's the third year of his reign. Achashveirosh puts on the big day kahuna, the clothes of the Kohen Gadol, the high priest in the temple. He throws this 180-day party because he miscalculated the 70 years of the prophecy of Yirmiyahu Hanavi, of Jeremiah the prophet. There was a nevuah that the Jewish people were going to be redeemed after 70 years, and he miscalculated. That hadn't happened yet. He displayed 6 treasures taken from the Beis HaMikdash every day. And that's like his big party. So his big party was celebrating that the Jewish people weren't going to be redeemed. Here, I'll let you jump in with.
Oh no, I was going to say that if you noticed, like a lot of people erred in their calculations, and it seems to be a theme in the Torah where people are erring in their calculations, and then that's their downfall.
Mm. Yeah, and
We
I think
have that with the golden calf, where they erred. They thought Moshe was going to come down, and all of a sudden, they were off by a few hours, and
and that's a great point that you're bringing up here, because like that's how the Yetzer Hara attacks us a lot of times. Like we have expectations about like how the world's going to go, but it's really Hashem's plan. It's Hashem's time, and we're not really privy to all those secrets. And we get like really agitated when things don't go according to our time. And that's how, right. And that's a big avenue for the Yetzer Hara to attack us.
yeah, that's so a sticking point in Rabbi Dessler's Strive for Truth, translated into English. that he says that how do you know whether it's the Yitzhara or it's really like Hashem telling you to do something?
Mm.
And if you don't have time to do it, like you got to act now, move it, go right now, then it's from the evil side.
Oh yeah.
But if you could take your time and still make the same decision, that's
Yeah.
the good side.
Yeah. So as you were saying, right, Belshazzar in the book of Sefer Daniel, he was the last king in the Babylonian Empire, which came first. He miscalculated. And what's very interesting here is in the Megillah, Queen Vashti is actually the daughter of Belshazzar. She's the granddaughter of Nebuchadnezzar. And then she refuses to come to Achashverosh's party.
Right.
Yeah, it was a little.
That's it. We know the reasons, right? She didn't want to come to the party, right?
Yeah, you want to go into it's a little NC-17. So not.
Yeah, just a little quick. There was
Oh
an
yeah, but
argument
you
between
go through
him.
the secret of that. You can go through the secret of that.
Now there was just an argument between him and the other rulers. Who's the prettiest? Which nation is the prettiest? So
Yeah.
he said ours is the prettiest, and they said, okay, prove it. And so he called her to appear, but to appear in her birthday suit.
Yeah.
And
I think just the
and
crown. She was only wearing a crown. That was like
yeah, only wear her crown, right?
yeah,
And not wear anything else. Again,
yeah,
hinting to Malchut. And so she didn't want to do so because on that specific day, Hashem made leprosy break out all over her body,
mm.
and very interesting, made her grow a tail.
Yeah.
So, and this was punishment because she used to make the Jewish women, serve her and in the same manner,
Yeah.
in order to make fun of them and to belittle them. So, the way Hashem works in the world is mida k'neged mida, measure for measure. As you do, so will happen to you. And, and it's also interesting that you said just wearing a crown and wearing malchut and also nakedness, meaning like, because the malchut doesn't have anything by itself. It's just the receiver or sphera. So, completely without any clothes, without anything, and only the crown.
Right. So
there's
yeah,
that.
that's interesting. That midrash kind of hints this. So right, like the sphere of Malchus, right? Like you're saying, it receives the shefa, receives the spiritual flow from the 9 spheros above it, ultimately coming from the Ein Sof, from the infinite being, from Hashem. Yeah, so that's interesting. It's very okay. So right, so Vashti, right? Vashti, this is why Vashti angered Achashverosh, and she was punished mida k'neged mida for her evil actions, how she was treating the Jewish servants. So then it's interesting. So then the Megillah introduces Haman, or Haman, as he's sometimes called, in the first parak, but he's called here Mamuchan. The Gemara says because he was like Muchan, he was like destined, or he's prepared for destruction, like Hashem created him for this. So Mamuchan, he advises the king that Queen Vashti, not only has she wronged the king, his officials, and all the people in the kingdom, but Vashti's actions will make other women view their husbands with contempt. And so this is what he was advising. A royal edict should be written into the laws of Persian media that Vashti will never again appear before King Achashverosh. Vashti's royal estate should be given to another who is better than her. A king's decree throughout the kingdom that all wives will show respect to their husbands, great and small alike, and letters sent out to each country that every man should rule in his own home and speak the language of his own people. All right, what do you got to say?
Oh, this it could be very kabbalistic here because the man is supposed to be given to the woman, and the woman is the malchut, right? But she receives everything from her husband, right? She receives the blessing, and she makes it into a baby, right? And she carries out that blessing. So if a woman is refusing, the malchut is refusing to accept that goodness, then then she's no longer useful. It's just like if a man is likened to the sky and a woman to the ground.
Going through it, okay?
Okay. So basically, I'll just reiterate that the man is supposed to give to the woman. If the woman doesn't want to receive, then she's likened to the ground, and the man is the sky and the drops of rain. So let's say it rains in sand by the beach. So very little is going to grow over there because the ground isn't fertile for it. It's not ready for it, right? But as opposed to raining, in some ground like a farm ground where there's seeds and it's ready to receive the water. So the same thing here. women who are rebelling against their husbands are not seen as good fertile ground. So he's coming from a correct kind of place, but obviously we know he's got an evil plan
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is like, right, I've heard a lot of like feminists have adopted Vashti as like their ideal, which is so scary. Like she was a very wicked and cruel queen. She was very into her own beauty and her own wealth and her own power. And right, it's and we're gonna see like the great qualities of Queen Esther are just the amazing of self-sacrifice and true beauty and truly good neshama. All right, but I think we'll go on to Yesod. But right, it's interesting. Like you brought up a lot of good points. Like Malchus is all about receiving, and like the ideal relationship is where like the husband gives to the wife and the wife receives. I mean, the greatest example of it is like right, the husband gives the zera, the seed, and then the woman receives it and cultivates it, and then she gives birth 9 months later to the baby to bring life into the world, and then just raising the children in the home, creating the malchus, creating the bias, just creating a place to grow, to grow and come close to Hashem. All right, so the next, when we move up, so it's the next chapter, second parak, and the next Sephira is Yesod, and right, Yesod is the giving. Yesod's the giving. It's the Sephira where the spiritual comes into the physical world. We'll talk more about it. Any opening comments on Yesod, or should you want me to go through it a little bit?
Yeah, go through it a little bit.
Okay.
Basically, the giving, they are connected. The Sod and Malchut are supposed to be connected for true goodness to happen. If they're separated, that's when destruction, bad things happen in the world.
Hmm. All right, so we see here, so this is kind of like the misappropriation of Yesod, desire instead of like the holiness, the kedushin of bringing children in the world. Like Achashveirosh, he's doing the opposite. It's like just lustful what he's doing. So we'll see. So Yesod, he says, so the king's attendants, they suggested young maidens of beautiful appearance. The maidens should be gathered together in Shushan Abira, the capital of the Persian Empire. And they should be put under the charge of Haggai, the king's chamberlain. So then we're introduced to Mordechai here, which is interesting. So Mordechai is the Tzaddik. The Tzaddik is the Yitzod HaOlam. The Tzaddik is the foundation of the world. Yesod also. So we see the misappropriation of Yesod, and then we see the holiness of the Tzaddik and the correct, way to use Yesod. And he's described as an Ish Yehudi, a Jewish man, even though he's from the tribe of Binyamin. We can talk about that. He's already in Shushan. There's a midrash that says that Achashveirosh, Hashem brought Achashveirosh to Mordechai, who was already in Shushan. His name was Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi ben Kish. He's an Ish Yamini. It means he's a man of the tribe of Binyamin. He's a man of the right, a man of chesed, of kindness, who had been exiled from Yerushalayim, from Jerusalem, with Yechaniah, Melech Yehuda, one of the kings of Judah, one of the kings of Yehuda, Yechaniah. And this is who Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the Babylonian Empire, had exiled. Now he raises Hadassah. She's also called Esther. It's his uncle's daughter, so they're cousins. And she had neither father nor mother. And then she's described as a Na'ara, a young woman. And she's a Yafas Toar, meaning like beautiful form, meaning beautiful body. And a Tovas Maret, like beautiful appearance, like a pretty face. So it's interesting. Why is the Torah giving physical descriptions? Like anything you want to say about any of this?
It's
Deep,
a lot to
deep,
unpack over there.
very
But
deep. Yeah, very deep.
so yeah, Mordechai is we say he's from the tribe of Binyamin, who's supposed to bring down the downfall of Amalek, right? Because of years earlier, Shaul was supposed to destroy Amalek and he didn't. So his his descendant Mordechai is supposed to do it, but he's called a Ish Yehudi. We know that once the tribes were exiled, all the tribes of Israel were brought under the flag of Yehuda, and everybody's called a Yehudi nowadays, even the Levium and the Kohanim. But the Gemara says that why is it called Yehudi is because anybody who doesn't bow down to idol worshiper is called a Yehudi, meaning like he's testifying that there's only one true king in the world, right? Lehodot is to admit that there's only one true power in the world. So anybody who and we'll see later on in the Megillah that he doesn't bow down to Haman. He doesn't bow down. Haman put a little idol on his chest, around his neck, and he made everybody bow down to it. And Mordechai just refused, even though it was the king's decree that everyone should do so.
Mm.
All right, and then go ahead.
Okay, no, but we see right here's the misuse of Yesod in some ways, because like the attendants, their plan was like each woman, each Na'ara, really a maiden, really it should be an unmarried woman. We can talk about the secret of Esther and Mordecai, right? They each Na'ara, each young woman was supposed to be treated with 6 months of the oil of myrrh, 6 months treated with perfumes and cosmetics. She would go for one evening. She would leave the first harem. She would come to the king and have, relations with the king. And then in the morning, she would return to the second harem. Now she was given to another man named Shasgaz, the king's other chamberlain in charge of the women. Esther was taken to Achashveirosh. Now it says the 10th month, but I really think it's the 10th of Teves. And that's one of the secrets of the 10th of Teves of where, and Esther didn't go willingly. She was like kind of like kidnapped against her will to go to Achashveirosh. One of the big secrets that it says in the Zohar, and we'll discuss this, is that Mordechai and Esther were actually husband and wife. A lot of people don't know that. So they were married. So she's taken against her will. She's not really a basula. She's a married woman. She's taken against her will. And this is in the 7th year of the king's reign. And it's on the 10th of Teves. And the king loved Esther more than all the other women. He placed the royal crown on her head. And the king made a Mishteh Gadol, a special great feast, another great party for all his officers and his servants. And this was Esther's banquet. Anything here? Or?
No, but you see the 10 and the 7 repeating. 10 Sefirot and the 7 lower ones that need rectification.
Yeah.
So Machud brought together.
Right. So this is the misappropriation of like the lowest sphere of Malchus, which is the queen, and then the next 6 above that, which are called Zer Anpin, and that would be like the king, the lower king, and the lower queen. It's not holiness. They're actually breaking up of the kedushin of Mordecai and Esther, and now kidnapping Esther against her will to go right with Achashveirosh, and that's causing, right, like you said, it's destroying, it's causing a kilkul in the Sephiros. It's not good right now.
Yeah, so it's a different yesod, a non-kosher yesod into a kosher yesod, the kosher machud. And it's very interesting. It's like this harp on beauty. When we know like that Shlomo Melech said in not Song of Songs, but Mishlei, Proverbs, that Sheker Achen Ve'evel Yofi.
Yeah.
Right. The lies of beauty and the emptiness, the vanity of beauty and appearance. And the woman that fears God, she's the one who's going to be praised. We're going to see that play out in the Megillah, I think.
So I saw an interesting commentary. I think it was from the Vilna Gaon on the Megillah, and he was saying, in the ancient world, a person's inner beauty of their neshama, the inner beauty of their soul, would be physically manifest in the ancient world. So if someone was beautiful on the inside in the ancient world, they would be beautiful on the outside. And that's why, it's important that the Torah is describing Sarah and Queen Esther here and other women of the Torah. It's purposely describing them as beautiful to show their inner beauty is manifesting in the outer beauty, but the world's not quite like that anymore. Everything's mixed up. Everything needs a tikkun, it needs a rectification. It's not, people can be beautiful on the outside nowadays, and sometimes they're, they're not as nice on the inside, and some people can be not so nice on the outside, but beautiful on the inside. So the world's not, it hasn't gone through that tikkun yet.
Yeah, the Zohar says that's the Eitz Hadat Tov, like the knowledge of good and evil. So same thing. People are likened to Esk, Adam Eitz Hasadeh. Person is the tree of the field, so he's likened to a tree, in which if they have opposing outer and inner forces, so that's the knowledge of good and evil. And if it's like consistent, then it's the Eitz HaChaim, it's the tree of life. So I guess they were on the part of the tree of life going on over there.
Very interesting. All right, so we'll just finish it up here. So it says Esther is told, like Mordecai instructs her, don't say anything about her family, where she's from. Don't say she's Jewish. Don't say what nation she's from. Not that she, her family means that she's from the royal family, like you were saying before, of Shaul HaMelech. Her and Mordechai were descendants of King Shaul, the first king of Israel. Don't say you're from the royal family. Don't say you're from the Jewish people. So Mordechai gave her that, instruction. She listened to him. Mordechai sat at the king's gate. Now here a king is Hashem's gate. Mordechai serving Hashem. He heard of the plot of Bigsan and Teresh to kill Achashveirosh. He told Queen Esther. Esther tells the king in Mordechai's name. The matter was investigated, and they were both hung on the gallows. They were hung on the eights. What you're saying is very fascinating, because it's not really gallows. In the Megillah, it's called ha'etz, the eights. And where did Haman come from? He came from the pasuk min ha'etz. Chava, Eve, saw from the tree. She saw that the tree was tempting and beautiful, and that's Haman's name. Exactly what you're saying. Haman is the eitz das tovara, and that's what has to be fixed. Maybe that's why Amalek, the mitzvah, to eliminate Amalek, and then the world can just be the Eitz Chaim, just be the Torah, just be the tree of life. And the Eitz Das Torah is just a part. It's just a part. It's not the complete tree. It's just part of the tree. Okay, so we'll go now to Hod, and Hod is like empathy, splendor. So here, anything introductory about Hod, or should I just bring in some of the events? Or
No, also just add that it's on the left side. Left side is Gvura, judgments, a harsher way of looking at things.
yeah.
Also, it's known through Kabbalistic sources that Hod is a Rasha of a Tovlo, is a person who does evil, and he benefits in this world.
That's fascinating. Okay, so right, so as you're saying, Hod's on the left, and it's the side of din and judgment. Okay, and evil sometimes. So right, and here we have it, the embodiment of evil, Haman, Ben Hamdasa, the Agagi. He was a descendant of King Agag from Amalek, who King Shaul was supposed to kill, but that he lets Agag live a little bit, and then Agag is able to have more children. And like Shmuel Hanavi, Samuel the prophet told King Shaul to kill Agag right away, but Agag lives, and unfortunately he has evil children, and we saw it really in the 20th century with the Nazis. They're descendants of Amalek. And here Haman, another evil, Nazi Amalekian. So then the king's servant at the king's gate would bow down and prostrate before Haman. They would bow to Haman. Mordechai would not bow or prostrate himself to Haman. So Haman was filled with wrath. He sought to destroy all the Jews throughout the entire kingdom of Achashveirosh. And this was in the month of Nisan, in the 12th year now of Achashveirosh's reign. And a lottery was cast from day to day, month to month, all the way from the first month of Nisan to the 12th month of Adar. Any comments here? It's so deep. All of it is so deep and filled with mystery.
Yeah, so obviously Haman is he's like the evil person who benefits greatly in this world, because he's made like the number 2 under King Achashveirosh, right?
Yeah.
And he wants everybody bound down to him, right, to show like how great he is. And then you have Mordechai who is saying that I'm not doing that. Like,
yeah,
forget about that, right? I only bow down to one true God.
Only to Hashem, right? Only to Hashem, not to the avodah zarah of Haman.
No emissaries going on over there,
Yeah.
And also you have the connection of the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
So the month of Nisan is the beginning month, and the end is Adar, right? Adar is the last month, so it's a connection of the beginning and the end, and that's what we have. Keter Malchut, like Keter is like the beginning, and what's in the beginning will manifest at the end.
Yeah.
What's in Keter will manifest in Malchut, because we know that's how the light channels in from the Ein Sof to down to our world, is through these channels. So what's in Nisan, which is the beginning, is going to be manifest at the end.
Very good, very fascinating. That's from Sefer Yetzirah, right? The the beginnings in the end, the ends in the beginning. It's all
right.
It's all connected. Right, the circle of life, as some people like to say. So Haman said to Achashveirosh, like the Jewish people, they're an Am Echad. They're one nation. They're separated from all the rest of the nations because we're the Am Echad and then we can connect to Hashem, who's the Echad, the one infinite being. The Jewish people, he's saying they're scattered, they're dispersed among the countries of your kingdom. Their laws are different from other nations, and they do not observe the king's laws. And I think his accusation here, since he's using just king and not king, he's saying they're disobeying Hashem's laws, the
Right.
mitzvos of the Torah. He's accusing the Jews, Haman's accusing the Jews of not upholding the Torah, not fully accepting the Torah Shel Peh, the oral Torah. And then Haman will pay 10,000 silver talents to destroy them. I believe it's a little over $500 million that he paid in silver. And then the king removes his signet ring. He gave it to Haman ben Hamdasa, the Agagi, the enemy of the Jews. And then Achashveirosh says, he says, the silver is given to you, Haman, the nation also, to do as you see fit. I believe it says in the Gemara, it's like a man has a pile of dirt on his field, and the other man has a hole in his field, and they're just, oh, you don't even have to pay me for the dirt. I need the dirt to fill my hole. And it's like the two of them had the same plan. He's like, you don't even have to give me the riches, Haman. I also wanted to, get rid of the Jews, Chas v'shalom. They had the same idea. Any comments there?
No, it says that this removal of the signet ring that was given over to Haman made more Jews come back to their Father in heaven than all the other prophets and prophetesses that ever lived amongst the Jewish people.
Yeah.
So I guess fear is a big motivating factor.
And so sometimes sometimes little fear can get us going in the right direction. So the king's scribes, they wrote on the 13th of Nisan what Haman dictated to the king's satraps, to the governors in every country, to the officials of every nation, to each country in its own language, written in the name of King Achashveirosh and sealed with the signet ring. And the letters sent out with the courier, and it was like Lahashmid, Laharog, Le'abed, Eskol Yehudim, Ushalal Livuz. Like, to destroy them. So it's like four Lushans here. To destroy them, to kill them, to exterminate all the Jews, and to plunder all their possessions on the 13th of the 12th month, on the 13th of Adar. I know from the Vilna Gaon in his commentary on the Megillah Esther, he's saying that for these 4 ways that they were trying to kill us, we celebrate with the 4 cups of wine on Pesach. We had the 4 redemptions, the 4 levels of Geula are related to the 4 ways that they're always trying to kill us in each generation. For each of their evil plans, Hashem has a better plan to elevate us and bring us closer to Him. And just incredible stuff. All right, so that's the evil plans on the side of Hod, the holy side of Hod. The good side of Hod is empathy and feeling the pain of other people, and seeing. So, then we'll go into Netzach here. Unless you have any other comments on Hod or let's.
No, just like there's also 4 mitzvahs that we have to do on Purim.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's what it was. I'm sorry. That's what it was. Yeah, the Vilna Gaon was saying the 4 mitzvahs that we got on Purim are related to the 4 ways they tried to kill us on Purim. You're right. That's what the Vilna. Thank you. That's what the Gra said. Okay, Hashem cleared me up on that one. Okay, so Netzach now. Netzach's about victory, eternity, and this is war. Netzach's war. This is the name of Hashem. That's like the Hashem Tsevaos, Hashem, the God of His legions, His heavenly legions. And we have 10 more minutes, so I think we'll end it on Netzach. We'll make this a part 1, and then B'ezras Hashem at some point we'll make a part 2. But Netzach's war, and we're going to see how a tzaddik goes to war. How a righteous person goes to war. Mordechai, he tore his clothes and wore sackcloth and ashes. He went into the middle of the city and cried a loud and bitter cry. And he came until the front of the king's gate. Now, this is not just Achashveirosh's gate. This is Hashem's gates, the gates of tefillah, the gates of prayer. He's praying to Hashem. And then he encourages the whole Jewish people. There was great mourning among the Jews, fasting and crying and lamentation, sackcloth and ashes. Esther's maidens and the chamberlains told her, and she was greatly distressed. And she sent garments to clothe Mordechai, to remove the sackcloth. He wouldn't accept. And Esther ordered Hatach, the Gemara says this may be Daniel, to go to Mordechai in the city square in front of the king's gate. And Mordechai sent info of a sum of money that Haman promised to pay royal treasuries. how much Haman wanted to pay, the 10,000 silver talents, copy of the decree to kill all the Jews to show to Esther, to beg her to go to the king, to plead for her nation. Esther sends Hatak back with a message that no one is allowed in the inner court of the king. Who was not summoned will be put to death, and she has not been summoned to the king for 30 days. All right, what do you got here? This is deep.
Netzach is it's the sphere that shows a tzaddik veralo.
Mm.
It's a person who's righteous but has a difficult time, a trying time in this world.
Mm.
So it seems like that's what's going on. Like the tzaddikim are going through some tough, trying times right there.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be clearer than here. It's just so clear. It's amazing. So, right, this now Mordecai's gearing up for war like a Jew. He's doing teshuvah. He's taking off the physical. You don't need the fancy clothes. It's ashes of mourning. We're going to turn back into dust, into ashes, into dirt. Just being humble, lowering himself, that only truly Hashem is the one. And these are talking about the gates of prayer. Like now he's beseeching Hashem, trying to get the whole Jewish people to do teshuvah, to cry out to Hashem to save us. This is the only Melech. This is our king. This is the only one that can save us from these tragic events.
So you go to the source, right?
Yeah, go to the King of Kings. And now Mordecai sends a message back to Esther. He says, "You may not escape in the king's palace. Don't be silent. Relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from another place, while you and your father's house will perish. Maybe it was for such a time as this that you attain your position." Esther replied to Mordecai, "Go, assemble all the Jews in Shushan and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day, and I will fast with my maidens." Incredible.
Yeah. So you see, like run away from the physical, you become more spiritual, right? And Mordechai says to her that there's no coincidences. Like if you don't go save the Jews will be saved. We have a divine promise. Something will happen, and something will be destroyed in the evil plotters' plot to destroy the Jews. But maybe this is the reason that you came into this position to go help them. So don't think you're gonna save yourself by like being silent at this moment. Like go and do your mission. And she accepts. And but she knows that she needs divine merits, right? And there's two ways to get divine merits. Either you do good things or you erase the bad things that you've done. And by doing tshuva, we erase the bad things. It's much easier, I guess, to say than to go out and actually do something.
Mm.
I guess they take that route.
Yeah, no, this is the beginning of the turnaround. This is the beginning of the defeat of evil. So we saw, like, how do we get into trouble with Hashem? Like the Jews went to this great feast and they were watching Achashveirosh dress up in the clothes of the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, desecrating the temple, desecrating all the kalim, all the utensils of the temple. And Achashveirosh was celebrating that we would never be redeemed from Hashem. We would never rebuild the base of Mikdash. We would never rebuild the temple. And now it's all turning around. And now our fear of Haman's decree is encouraging us to do teshuvah. And now we're going towards getting the rebuilding of the temple. We're going towards us being redeemed. And in this whole Megillah, which we'll talk about more in part 2, in all of this is the seeds of Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. Mordechai is from Binyamin. That's the sons of Rachel. That's Mashiach ben David. And this is all leading to Ezra and Nehemiah rebuilding the second base of Mikdash, the second temple. And Ezra and Nehemiah, right? Nehemiah was a descendant of King David. Zerubbabel, he was a descendant of King David, and that's Mashiach ben David. And we'll talk about that more in the second part. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I would say Rachel is Yosef.
Yeah, Yosef, right. Yosef and Binyamin.
Okay.
Joseph and Binyamin, Joseph and Benjamin are both the sons of Rachel, right? Yeah. So Mordecai, right? Mordecai here is a simon, he's a hint, he's a sign of in the future, the Purim of the future, when we have the redemption of Mordecai ben Moshe. See, we get so drunk we don't even know the difference between Mordecai and Mashiach. Maybe we can get Mashiach, but right, we'll see the ultimate redemption. And I've been hearing great sharing, but then we'll really understand Purim. Like we haven't really experienced the Simcha of Purim until Yemotza Mashiach, until the days of Mashiach. Then we'll really start to understand Purim. We'll really start to get the secrets of the Or and the Simcha, the Or, the light of the Torah, and the happiness of Purim. We got 3 minutes, 3-minute warning. Any final comments here?
No, it says "Me'amakim karaticha Hashem," right? From the depths that will call out to you. And it seems like this is the low point, and from the low point they rise up. But you have to go all the way down to scrape the bottom of the barrel and then start rising up. Otherwise, it's not fully complete.
Yeah, and I think right on the Shabbos of Simchas Torah, the October 7th attack, it put the Yira into us. It put that fear into us, the evilness of Hamas, and Bezrat Hashem. Hopefully, the Jewish people, we need to start calling out to Hashem. That's who's going to save us. That's who we need help from. And then, in the times we're living in, this is to turn it around. And we need to bring the coming of Mashiach. And we'll see in part two how this is all these events are really leading to the rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash, the rebuilding of the Second Temple. Any final words here? We're almost at our 2-minute warning.
Let's wrap it up. Let's go to part 2.
Okay, I think that was a great part 1. We hope to see you all back again soon. I didn't say it, but please like, share, subscribe, put on your notification bell, all the good stuff, so you can see more sweet and good Torah, more gates of Mordechai. Everyone should have an amazing Shabbos Vayikra and a Freilich of Purim, a Purim Sameach, and all the best. All right, let me end it here.